about 3 or 4 years old, my dad picked me up from preschool, and I was born and raised in San Francisco, and he had this I believe it was a 1973 Pontiac convertible, bright red. It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen at 3 or 4 years old. I think it's probably still one of the cooler things I've seen. And we decided to go for a drive that day. We drove over the Golden Gate Bridge with the top down. And I remember, this is like one of my very first memories as a kid. I remember looking at the sky and looking at the bridge and the water down below and leaning over to my dad and saying, "Hey Dad, you know what? Last night, I flew over this bridge by myself." And my dad looked over at me and said, "It's an interesting thing you just said, Sam. Please explain further." And I said, "Will do, Father." I'm paraphrasing, of course. I told him, "Well, last night, when you and Mom were fast asleep, I climbed out of bed and I walked over to the window of our 2-story house. I opened the window of the 2nd story, I climbed out the window, and I jumped out of the window. And the wind caught me, and it picked me up into the air. And I flew up into the air, into the sky, and I flew over the city, and I flew over the bay, and I flew over this bridge, and I flew out into the ocean. And I gotta admit, Dad, I got a little scared. So I doubled back, landed right on the beach, about 4:30 in the morning, approximately. Hiked probably a good 5 or 6 miles. Scaled the backyard fence, climbed up the house, climbed into the window, shut the window, went back to bed. My dad was amazed. He was like, "Wow, that's incredible." And I said, "Yeah, Dad, but before you say anything further, I just want to ask you, please don't tell anybody about this. Because they wouldn't believe you." And he said, "Sam, it's a promise. It's in the vault. It's our little secret." Years later, I'm about 17 years old. My dad and I, again, are on a little excursion. And we're driving down to Southern California. We're driving down Highway 5. And I don't know if you've ever driven from San Francisco to LA, but it's a really terrible and ugly drive. And we had exhausted every CD that we had in the car, and we were sitting in silence. And my dad breaks the silence. He leans over to me and he says, "Hey Sam, do you remember, you were about 3 or 4 years old, you told me you flew over the Golden Gate Bridge?" I was like, "Yeah, you know what, it's funny, I do remember telling you that." And he's like, "You know, Sam, before you go any further, I want to let you know that I still haven't told anybody about that." And I said, "Well, gee, shucks, Dad, thanks." He said, "And before you say anything further, I also want to say that I still believe you."
Aww.
Now, if you ever want to make a 17-year-old punk rocker tear up in front of his dad, that's the way to do it. Let's give it up for 17-year-olds showing their emotions to their father. I wrote this song about that childish innocence, about how we, hopefully that imagination is still stuck there somewhere, and we can just grasp it when we need it. The song is called Old Blood.
First memory, I couldn't have been more than 3. I flew over the city like a bird. Maybe it was just a dream, a physical impossibility. But back when I was 3, I was so sure. I was the wind, I was the clouds, I was the sky. I was the childish dreams I hoped would never die. But now I sit and drink my wine, getting older all the time. Now I wish I could still spread these wings to feel that old blood flowing in my veins. backyard bush, our mansion made from couches, cushions, and everything was fine while we were there. The basement was the Grand Bazaar, the hallway Sunset Boulevard, and we smoked cigars from a deck of playing cards. And I was the mover, I was the shaker, I was the man. I was 1,000 things I didn't understand. But now I sit and drink my wine, getting older all the time. Now I wish I could still move and shake to feel that old blood flowing in my veins. Flowing in my veins. We wrote symphonies no one would ever hear. We lived a world that never was and never is. But if it all came from within, how do I get it back again? How do I know where I'm going if I don't know where I've been? We'd hoist the sails of our sinking ships through optimistic chants. We let our presence known to the cold and salty air. Our legend lasted longer than our reign. How we were masters of the seas before we sank beneath the waves. I was the wind, I was the cloud.